we pastors are really excited about this. We've been kind of developing this plan for a little while and revising and praying through it of how to go about launching Ecclesia Shakota. We're pumped about that because that means more people are going to be loved in Jesus, more people are going to be reached that don't know Jesus, and more people who know Jesus but don't have a church home that preaches the gospel or loves them well, or just don't have a church home at all. They're going to get to plug in by the grace of God, and by you guys, you foundational members in Shakota Eufaula, it's going to be good. More glory to Jesus, more joy to us. So we're excited about that. We want to do this because we want to do things better than we did Ecclesia Muskogee. Who was with us from the beginning? Woo! We were awful. We didn't know what we were doing. We started off in a dojo, a little room that looked like a dojo, and we're all packed in there. If a kid showed up, we had no idea. We're like, oh, there's a bedroom back there. Someone will go back there and sit with them in this little tiny room. We didn't know what we were doing. So all this stuff, we were in a house, and then we knocked out a wall in a house, and then we went to the Civic Center, and then we found this building. And by God's grace and providence, things seem to be going pretty well. But those of you who are new, it's like, you guys seem like you decently got it together. It's like, no. Compared to what it used to be, yes. But we really want to launch this church down in Shakota, and we want to kind of go full steam ahead and not, oh, come and get involved and it's going to be cool someday, or it's going to be good someday, or there's a lot of potential. But we want to take what we've learned and what Jesus has taught us in the last 3 years since Ecclesia Muskogee has existed, and we want to implement that right at the beginning when we launch in Shakota. So that's why we're calling this a launch plan. Like, we are launching the church, and we want to have a plan and be strategic in it so that we can better take care of people, we can better reach more people for Jesus, and spread the word about what's going on and what Jesus is doing. So, here we go. The first few things, launch plan. So we're going to have a core group vision and prayer gatherings. That'll start April 6th through April 27th. Those are Sundays from 6 to 7 p.m. This is a great time for you guys in the Shakota Eufaula area to invite other people to come to these prayer and vision gatherings that may be interested about plugging into the church. Maybe they don't have a home church, but it seems like they know Jesus, or they would say they know Jesus or whatever, but you're like, man, this person doesn't really have a home. Want to invite them to come. That's a great time to do that, because we're going to be praying and kind of going over the vision 4 weeks prior to when we officially launch publicly. These vision and prayer gatherings are not a great time to invite non-believers, because they won't really be catered towards those who don't know Jesus. This is a time of huddling together and focusing and getting on the same page with stuff so that we can go forth in mission. Worship gatherings are always great to invite non-believers, because we always try to cater to making sure that we're talking in such a way that if someone doesn't know Jesus, they can meet Jesus, and it can all be like that. But these vision and prayer gatherings are focused on the vision and to spend time in serious prayer. So I will be preaching through a 4-week mini little series that will be aimed at preparing everyone for Ecclesia Shakota's launch. If you were with us at the beginning of last year, we went through a sermon series called Jesus and His Church. We spent 12 weeks just looking at the big things of a local church, what the Scripture says. So this 4-week little series that will be on Sunday nights will be 4 of those weeks from that bigger 12-week series. And we want to do that because there are a lot of you that are involved that weren't involved then. So you didn't get that. And it'll be a good reminder for those of you who were. They're going to be shorter. There won't be hour-long sermons. It'll be about half an hour. And then we're going to spend some time in worship. And then Pastor James is going to guide everyone in specific things to be praying about each week. So that's what's going on with that. We want to also do this because it's going to help all of you guys in the Shakota Eufaula area get used to gathering there, setting up, tearing down, all of that kind of stuff, so that when it's May 4th and we launch, it's not just like the first time we've ever done it and everyone's running around like a chicken with their head cut off. We don't want that. We want to do that well. So the place that we're going to be gathering is the Shakota Public Library Conference Room. It sounds like, really? But actually, it's pretty good. It's about the same type of room that if you were with us when we were in the Civic Center here, it's about the same thing. Some of the good stuff about that is we can get into it on Saturday. So once we put together a team that's going to be setting up and getting everything ready, they'll be able to even go in there Saturday if they plan and they want to do that, so they don't have to get there early Sunday and get it done. So that's really cool. We go and get a key from the library, and when we're done, we make sure the building's locked up Sunday night, and we put the key in their return book box. So cool. So that's really easy. Another thing is that it's free. It's free because all of us pay for it with our tax dollars, but we don't have to pay. And so that's really, really good up front, especially with launching a church, that the place we're going to be gathering is not going to be draining. So that's really cool. The vision is not to be there forever, but to be there until we can find a building that is going to be adequate and a good place for us to gather and worship in and has more room to invite more people. So we're there until Jesus presents something else, another good opportunity, and we're going to keep looking for that. But it's going to be a great place to be. Another thing with the plan, we're going to have some handouts that we're going to make about the same size as the religion and the gospel cards that we have. It's going to be explaining just simply what Ecclesia Shakota is about. And then on the other side, it's going to be an invitation that you can give people to come on May 4th at 10:30 a.m. to come check out the church. That's the day that we're launching. So we want to give these in you guys' hands and be passing them out to everybody that you know to generate some people start knowing, like, okay, this is actually happening. We want to make May 4th a big day to where everyone realizes this is the official first public worship gathering in the Shakota area. Something that's really cool about this is that there hasn't been a church planted in Shakota for maybe 50 to 100 years. There have been church splits to where this church gets mad at each other, and so half of them leave and go start another one. But that's not a church plant. That's not a church saying, we want to go and strategically plant a church here to reach people that don't know Jesus. This is really exciting. There's going to be, I would guess, a lot of pushback from some religious people, from some elder brother type people, from legalistic people. It's like, we already got plenty of churches. Why do we need another church? If you filled up every single local church building in the Shakota area, you would fill up, I think, about 20% of the city and the people who live near the city. About 20%. So there always need to be more churches because there are always more people that don't know Jesus, and that even if all these waves of people started coming in and meeting Jesus, churches wouldn't be able to disciple them, take care of them, and love them like we're supposed to. So churches always need to be planted, and so that's why we're going to keep doing it, to reach more people and so that more people can be loved and Jesus can be glorified. So give those handouts out when we get them to you. Also, social media, through Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and all that. We've got a Facebook for Ecclesia Shakota, got a Twitter for Ecclesia Shakota. We're going to start going public with that stuff. We encourage you guys to like it on Facebook, follow it on Instagram and on Twitter. We're going to be posting stuff, and a good way that you can help spread the word is when we post stuff on Twitter, retweet it, favorite it, tag it in your tweets, or on Facebook, like it. If you see something Ecclesia, like it, because when you do, it means more people see it. Because the more people that like something, the more it gets at the top of the feed, more people see, hey, a church is being planted. Hey, Jesus is alive. So the more you do that kind of stuff, the better. Also share stuff. You can share statuses, pictures, all that kind of stuff on Facebook. We're going to be making certain pictures that are the exact size for like Instagram. That'll be an invitation to come and check out Ecclesia Shakota on May 4th. That'll be on the website. You can just go there, save the picture, post to Instagram from your phone immediately. So we encourage all of you guys to use social media to help get the word out there through that kind of stuff. Let's use anything and everything that we can to get the word out so that more people can know what's going on. Word of mouth is also good. Just talk to people. Be intentional about bringing the fact up that, hey, there's a church starting in Shakota. It's really exciting. Jesus is doing some cool stuff. Tell people about it. Get excited about it. If you're excited about it, they'll be like, oh, why is this person excited about this? And not just like, hey, yeah, we're starting a church, man, you should come. They're like, nope, no thanks. So make sure that you're talking to everyone about it. Friends, family, coworkers, whoever you talk to. And lastly, just remember with everything that we're doing to launch, remember it's all about Jesus. Remember that in telling someone and inviting someone, you're never pointing them to you or pointing them to how awesome the church is or anything like that, but pointing them to how awesome Jesus is and the fact that we as a church get together and we're a family who's focused on and on mission with Jesus. So remember, it's all about Him for His glory and our ongoing joy. Worship gatherings, they're going to function pretty much the exact same as here. The only difference will be that Shakota will be 1 week behind in the preaching. So we video the sermons each week here. We're going to capture those on Sunday, and then the next Sunday in Shakota, the sermon will be put on the projector, and so we will be having the exact same sermon, just 1 week lagged. And some of us think that's weird, some of us think that's cool, but it is what it is. If you want to talk more about why we want to do that and our biblical convictions that we think that's something we should use to further the mission, I'd love to talk to you about that. Everything else that's done in the gathering, everything is going to be done by a local pastor. Right now, James is going to be the only local pastor at the church. We're praying for God to call up more men that He would call and equip, and we could be able to train, and they would come up to be pastors and help lead the church down there. So, men, if any of you sense that God may be calling you to be a pastor, come let a pastor know and say, I want to enter into this, and I want to enter into you assessing me and training me, and I would love to be a pastor, and I think God's called me to be. Let us know. Jesus loves to build His church, and He loves to do that through calling men to be the leaders. So we know He's going to be doing that. Whether you're in Shakota or Muskogee, if you've sensed that, I think Jesus may be calling me to be a pastor, let us know. We want to help you walk through that and discern through that. But everything in the gathering, we're going to do things a little bit differently. Like, for instance, James will welcome everyone. And then probably we'll sing a song. James will welcome everyone. And then James will introduce the sermon and then read the text for the sermon. And then the bumper video rolls, and then the sermon starts with whoever was preaching here. Typically, it'll be me. But even the text that's being read for the sermon, Pastor James will be doing that. Here, Pastor Nate will be doing that. So the reason we do that is because we try to do as little as possible on video, because we're not trying to be like, oh, everything's got to be video. Hi. What are you doing? Just keep hanging out. That's cool. So the reading of the scripture, and then after, like when I typically do this is how we respond to Jesus, James will be doing all of that. A local pastor will be doing all of that. So the only thing that's going to be on the video is just the bare bones of the sermon. You going to come up here? That's okay. Jasper's just kicking it with his helmet. And local pastors at each church will be preaching 5 or so times throughout the year as well, like we've typically done. It's usually been somewhere between 5 and 10 weeks, because typically I'm gone at least 1 month of the year in Uganda training pastors, and so those 4 weeks are there. And then usually I get a little bit of a vacation sometime at the end of the summer, and other pastors cover the pulpit then. So we're going to do the same thing with that, and there will be local pastors preaching. The more pastors that we've got, the more preaching in the local churches will be able to happen too. So gathering launch date is Sunday, May 4th, 10:30 a.m. That is 2 weeks following Easter. So this is why we chose that date. It's the first week in May. That's good. It's 2 weeks after Easter, so that means here in Muskogee we'll start Acts 1 week after Easter. And then since Shakota will be 1 week behind us, Shakota will launch the church with a new sermon series going through the book of Acts. So that's why we chose that. And also, as a bonus, it's May the 4th. So May the 4th be with you. You guys can all wear your Yoda and Jedi stuff. James will be dressed up like a Jedi and doing backflips and all that kind of stuff, I'm sure. You can hold him to that. Gathering place, again, is the public library conference room. We're able to get that secure for 3 months at a time. And they pretty much told us no one ever uses this place on Sunday mornings. And the only way that we wouldn't be able to use it is if someone booked it before us, which they won't, because we're going to get it early, or if a library function had something planned in there, which is not going to happen at 10 in the morning on a Sunday. Not in the Bible Belt. You don't do stuff at that time other than at churches. So that's exciting that we get to be in there. Ecclesia Kids. There's a decent-sized entryway when you come in the library. And this is going to kind of be a trick to set up. Can you take this? It's going to kind of be a trick to set up, but it's going to work well, I think. There's two ways to enter this gathering, this worship room that we're going to have. You can go through the front double pane doors, right? If you've been there, you know what I'm talking about. And then there's an entryway that goes around. Or you can enter straight into the worship room from a side door that just pours right into the back of the room we're going to be worshiping in. So what we're going to do is have the front doors locked, and the side door that goes straight into the worship room, that's where everyone's going to enter. We're going to have appropriate signs there, and everyone will know this is where you go in. So what will happen is everyone goes into the worship room from the back, and then we're going to develop this entryway through like putting some stuff up and getting good decorations and having kids stuff. We're going to develop that into the place where the kids will be for now. If this ends up being a problem, we will figure it out and we'll make something happen. But it seems like it's going to work well for now. So we're excited about that. We are going to have to do a lot of setup and tear down every week. If you were with us when we were in the Civic Center here, you know how that works. It's not easy, but it's good. And we got to do what we got to do because we can't just build a building and buy a bunch of land. We don't have those kind of resources to do. So we're going to make it work. James Hickman is going to be the lead pastor of this local body. James, Nate, and I will still be the pastors and elders over Ecclesia because this is going to function as one church, but in two locations for now. We're going to be the same body. Our offerings go to the same place. We're on the same mission. The teaching is the same. The community group discussion is the same. All that kind of stuff. So one church, just in two different locations. Much like we have been now, except it's just been community groups and where we live. So instead of driving up here, you get to stay in the Shakota area, which is great, and be on mission there. But James will assume the lead role over the Shakota area body. So again, we don't want it to be that. We want it to be multiple pastors at every local church. So that's why we're praying for God to call up other men to be pastors that we can go through training with and assessing them and equipping them to then be put up and to be a lead shepherd of the church. So we're excited about that. Worship leader, Bo Gwynn. Bo will be assembling a team to lead alongside him. Basically already has a team. Doesn't have to do much. Hey, everyone that plays here, go play with me there. And then that'll work. So we've already got a worship leader. We don't from Muskogee, so please be in prayer about that. I don't want to have to lead, and because that's just too much going on. But just pray for God to send us somebody who can play the guitar and help lead in worship. We've got some women that do a great job singing, Megan and McLean, and we just need somebody to play the guitar. So if you play the guitar, hey, come play for us. We will teach you. So Ecclesia Kids Leader, blank. We don't have one. We need somebody to volunteer for that. We need somebody to let us know, I'll be willing to head up that stuff. They will be organizing the schedule, staying in contact with the volunteers, and be in charge of setup and tear down of the Ecclesia Kids area. All of these leaders, when we say organizing and in charge of the setup, that doesn't mean the leaders do the setup. That means the leaders make sure the setup gets done. You have a team, you have volunteers, but the buck stops with you. It's like, if I don't make sure this gets set up, it's not going to happen. Much like if Adrian doesn't make sure there's a schedule for Ecclesia Kids and there's stuff back there and there's food and all that kind of stuff, it's not going to get done. She does a great job at delegating and of laying it out. This is what you're going to do. This is what we got going on. But the buck has to stop with someone, and that's with whoever the leader is. It doesn't mean they do all the work, but it means they make sure all the work gets done. Also, we need a setup and tear down leader. They'll be organizing and overseeing the setup and tear down team each week. This is stuff like setting up the sound, setting up the audio video, making sure the kids' room gets set up, setting up the banners, different things like that. To just make sure everything that needs to be done to set up the worship room for worship gathering, they are in charge of that, to lead the team and to make sure everyone's getting everything done. If you're with us at Civic Center, you know what I'm talking about. If not, that's just kind of how it works. Audio video leader. They'll be organizing and overseeing the setup and tear down of the audio video and the audio video team each week. We'll have sound, we'll have a projector, and we need an audio video leader to make sure that like everything's hooked up right. Not just it's set up, but that it's all hooked up right, the video's working, the projector screen's working, the computer's plugged in, all that kind of stuff. And we need someone to oversee that. And there'll be people that are volunteering to do that, to run the words or run the sound each week, but we need a leader that's over it to make sure it gets done. Set up a schedule, that kind of stuff. So, next thing, this is a long name. Greeter, Books and Bibles, Connection Table Leader. That's the official title. You can tell that I did this. Excuse me. They'll be organizing and overseeing the setup and teardown of the banners, Books and Bibles, and Connection Table, and the welcome and greeting team each week. So, basically, we're going to have a table set up that's got study Bibles, regular Bibles, and a few books, Jesus Storybook Bibles, things like that, because we want to always make those available to people and put them right in front of everyone and say, here's some really good study Bibles and translations and books that you could get in your hand right here. We're going to do that. And so someone has to get the tubs and put them out of the tubs and make them look nice on the table and put a tablecloth down, that kind of stuff. Also, we're going to have banners, like when you walk in here, there's that stand-up banner. We're going to have more of those there because we don't have a building that says Ecclesia. We're going to have some stuff like right outside the front door when you walk in. It'll say, this is Ecclesia Shakota. This is where you enter. Then you go in, then there's one next to the connection table. There's one next to the coffee. There's one where you enter to go into the kids' room. So everyone knows right off the bat, this is where you go, this is what you do. This person will be in charge of making sure those are in the right areas. And then the connection table that's got visitors cards, it's got membership covenant, it's got doctrinal statement, free Bibles, all that kind of stuff. The stuff that Ryan does every week, and I point you to, that'll have to be tore down and set up every week and make sure that that looks good and it's got light shining on it, things like that. So we need someone to oversee that and to be just a general greeter, to hang out near the door so that they can welcome people when they come in. And we're going to have other people on a greeting team so that there's at least 2 people each week that are hanging out near the entrance so that when someone comes that hasn't been there before, you can introduce yourself and you can kind of let them know, here's where stuff is. If you have kids, this is how we do it. We start with the song, then a pastor will get up and welcome everyone, and that's when typically it's a good time to take your kids to the room. You can even go show them the room before that so they feel comfortable and they don't just think they're sending their kid to their demise. So we need someone to be overseeing that. Lastly, Coffee, Donuts, Lord's Supper Leader. That's another official title. Megan and McLean, Nate and Jenny basically do this every week here. You don't know, this stuff, we can't just leave this stuff here. But they make sure that there's bread that's good, there's wine, there's juice, there's coffee, there's donuts, there's cups, and all this stuff. A lot goes into it. We get here early every week to set up, and we have to go shopping throughout the week to make sure there's stuff there. So we need someone in Shakota to say, I'll oversee that. I'll do it. I'll make sure there's coffee, there's donuts, and there's Lord's Supper stuff. Lord's Supper stuff's important. We don't want to say, oh, man, we can't take communion this week because we forgot. That's a serious thing that we want to do every time we gather. So we need someone to say, I will be in charge of making sure all of that stuff gets done. All right, community groups. Community groups will function much the same as they have been. Scripture, big idea, and discussion feeding off the previous Sunday's sermon. So it's not going to be a big change there. You'll be a week behind what Muskogee is, but as far as the Shakota area, it's not going to seem like anything's different. You're just going to watch a sermon on a screen most of the time, and then that following Tuesday, you'll do the same discussion. A good thing about that is you can have community groups whenever you want, and the big idea, discussion questions, all that stuff will always be done for you Shakota people way early because it'll be done a week before you actually need it. So I know that's exciting for some of you leaders because sometimes it's late Tuesday before it gets done or something, and you're like, I want to be able to read through it, or I wish we could have group on Sunday night or Monday night, but we can't because that stuff's usually not done. In the Shakota area, it will be. So you can have your community group any night of the week that works best for you and your people. 2 new community groups will be planted as we launch the church. Right now we've got 1, and there's 25 people in it. That is a church. That's not a community group. That's like a worship gathering in a home. So 2 new groups will be planted as we launch the church. So it's for a few reasons. So we may reach out to people while being able to accommodate people who get connected through worship gatherings. So there are going to be some people that get connected to the church just through coming to gatherings, and we want to have community groups that are ready and able to plug them into. So it's kind of accommodating to, they come here, plug them in. But also we want to plant new groups because we want to always be thinking missionally. Always want to plant new groups, so it's like, all right, there's 3 of us now. Let's go invite people to come. Let's go reach people. Let's go tell people about Jesus. And they've got a really good place to come get plugged in. Every single time we've planted a new community group, it's gone every time. And it goes to about usually 10 to 15 people, and then it'll shrink down a little bit unless you plant a new one. So the Shakota one, it's been going a year, and it's big. And it's staying big, I think, because a lot of people realize we're planting a church out of this, and this isn't going to be how it is forever. But if we stayed like that, the group would shrink down. Because the purpose of community is to be talking with one another and be honest with one another and everyone share and all that. And when the group gets bigger, the introverts close down, the extroverts talk more, and people get lost. So we don't want that to happen. We want the groups to remain small enough, 10 or under typically, to where everyone is heard and everyone has time to talk and we have time to pray for each other and all that kind of stuff. So that's why we're planning 2 new groups out of this. We never, ever, ever, ever want to split community groups. What I mean by that is like, oh, we got 15 people. 7 go this way, 7 go this way. We will never do that. Because that's really harmful. And really it communicates it like, we got to plan a new one. I guess we'll start a new one. It's like, no, that's not the mindset of being on mission. Mindset of being on mission is as soon as we are able, we're going to plant a new one so more people can get plugged in. And so we want to continue to do that. That's why we're not splitting these community groups. But a large portion will stay with Anitra, who's leading one of the community groups. And then Bo is going to take a few people, plant one. James and Crystal Hickman are going to take a few people and plant one. So we don't want to rip them apart, but we want to be sending out people to plant and to be thinking missionally to reach people. So that's why we're going to do that. Community group leaders, Anitra Sizemore, Shakota area, Bo Goyen in the Shakota area, and then James and Crystal Hickman in the Eufaula area. So we have some people from the Eufaula, Carlton Landing area. We'll be encouraging you to be a part of that community group plant since you live there. We want you to be a part of a community group as close to where you live as possible because that's where you know the most people and that's where we want you, and you should be on mission. So we'll be talking more about the specifics of that, and we haven't nailed down yet when the new community groups are launched. We pastors had talked about not the direct Tuesday after May 4th, not the 6th, but probably the 13th. So you've got brand new worship gathering, launching, spreading the word, and then you've got another 9 days or so to spread the word about the new community group that you're planning and to invite people to get plugged into. But we want those to be pretty close to one another because we want to have a really quick way to plug people into community groups who come visiting or who are hearing about it and we can invite to get plugged in. Now we get to what is needed. This is all this is what we're doing. This is vision stuff, and now this is what we've got to do, and this is what we need from you to make sure that we can get this done. We need more and more kids running around and laughing and having a good time. We will never think that is a bad thing. That is never a bad thing. That's amazing. That God's given us a great culture here at Ecclesia that everyone laughs when that happens. No one's going. We're all just like, Jasper's running around. Who cares? He's a kid. So anyways, what is needed from those in Muskogee and Shakota? So lest we think in Muskogee people, we're just like, we're just here hearing about what they're going to do. We need prayer. We need each of you to spend time alone with Jesus, asking him to build his church. Refocusing on the fact that, yes, we are doing a lot. We are doing a lot to launch this, but it's he who's working in us, and it's he who is building his church. We just get to be a part of it, which is awesome. So spend time in prayer, alone with Jesus, focusing on his grace and goodness, asking him to build his church for his glory and the world's joy. And we just really want to encourage you throughout this whole thing, whether you're in Shakota or Muskogee, stay weak and dependent on Jesus. Stay confident that the Father loves you, and be strengthened by the Holy Spirit. And that's going to happen through prayer. You're gonna stay focused on the things you should stay focused on, Shakota and Muskogee people, by focusing on Jesus and realizing it's He who's building His church. It's He who's called us to go make disciples of all nations. It's He who is going to save people when we tell them the gospel. How exciting is that? There are going to be people in this next year in the Shakota Eufaula area that are going to be changed forever because Jesus is going to save people. Do you believe that? Let's be praying and focusing on that and asking Him to continue to build His church. So number one, what we need is prayer. Number two, $6,000. The reason we need this money is because just look around at this room. Look at everything in this room. Sound, audio, video, lights. If you know anything about what you're looking at, this is a lot of money. And we have accumulated this over like 3 years. Because we were like, oh, I don't know, we probably will just wait till it comes in. Because we were stupid and we should have tried to raise the money and said, let's all give and let's make this happen. And not just say, oh, it's good enough. But no, we want to launch Shakota, not saying, hopefully in 3 years we'll, have lights. We want to launch with adequate audio, video, kids' room, books, Bibles, banners, presentation, handouts, all that kind of stuff. We want to launch with that, and we can. We can because we can all pitch in and we can all give towards this. So what we want to ask you to do, this $6,000, this covers every bit of the upfront stuff we need to get going. We'll need a little bit more of a chunk once we get into a building and we have to actually paint and all that kind of stuff. But for now, just audio, video, kids' room, and then presentation stuff. We worked with a guy who's super nerdy about this. It's our friend Rob, if you know Rob. And he helped me lay this all out to make sure we weren't getting crappy stuff, but we weren't getting ripped off by getting this ridiculous stuff that we don't need. And so we've trimmed it and made sure that this is what we need to launch, and it's right at $6,000. So that's what we need. We want to ask you to do two things in regards to this money that we need. Think and pray about giving a one-time gift above your normal offerings to help cover the cost of this church plant, just right up front, the upfront costs. If we all give what we can easily cover the extra money that is needed up front. So I want to encourage every single one of you to give something. Even if it's I literally don't make much money and I can give $10. That's great. Because the thing about giving and the thing about being a body is that we're all different members and we all work together to bring about something that needs to be brought about. And so if you've got $5 and it's that's all I can give, and we say, awesome. That's how we give. We give out of what we have, not out of what we don't have. That's what Paul says in 2 Corinthians 8. He says, I don't mean that you should be burdened and other people's burden be eased. I mean that we should all give out of what we have. So we want to encourage you to look at your budget, look at what you could cut out this month, look at some money that you've got and say, what can I give as just a one-time gift? And if we all give what we can, it's going to get up there. Second thing we want to ask you to do, that's something we want to ask you to do soon. Pray about it, think about it, be a good steward. We encourage you to give that one-time gift. Next, excuse me, we need everyone giving generously, regularly, and sacrificially. This is Muskogee and Shakota people. Of the money Jesus has given you to be a steward of. We just want you to be serious and we want you to get the joy that comes from stewarding your money and sending your money on mission rather than saying, oh, I'll give when I get out of debt. Oh, I'll give when I make a little bit more money. That's never going to stop. And even if it does, Jesus doesn't look at that and say, oh, that's cool. When you've got more, you can give. Typically, the more money you get, the less generous it is that you will be. Statistically, the more money people make, the less percentage they give out of that money because they think, I'm making a lot more, and so I'm giving more than last year, but not giving more sacrificially, just giving more because you actually make more and the percentage is a little higher. So we just want to encourage all of you to think and to remember that you are not going to stand before Jesus and say, I wish I had given less money to Jesus' mission. None of us are going to say that. If anything, we'll say, I wish I wasn't selfish and would have sacrificed more for the mission of Jesus. And I don't say that to guilt you. I just say that because I want us to think. And I want you to be good stewards of your money, and I want to see your joy increase as you send your money on mission for Jesus. So, everyone giving generously, regularly, and sacrificially. Number 5, everyone serving generously, regularly, and sacrificially. Here's the thing. On that third page, we've got like sign up stuff. Every one of you needs to sign up. Every one of you from the Shakota, Eufaula, Carlton Landing area, we need every single one of you serving. This is not a, hey, if you think this could be good. No, every single one of you. Because you're the core group. You're going to be leading and stuff. You're going to be setting the tone for all of those who come into the church or those who get saved. They're going to look to you as to, what does it look like to serve in my church? What does it look like to be a Christian and to love Jesus and his church? I want them to see you, every one of you, serving. So it's for that, it's to set the example, but it's also because we need every one of you. A lot of stuff gets taken care of here that a lot of people have no idea happens. Like the stuff about coffee and, depositing and all the stuff that we do. Turning on the lights, getting here early to turn on the heat, setting stuff up. There are hundreds of things that happen every week that most people don't realize because there's a ton of people already that are serving very much behind the scenes. And so when we start in Shakota, there's going to need to be a lot of people stepping up to make sure everything gets taken care of. And we need you to do that. So we're trying to refuse from the very beginning. Statistically, in churches, 20% of the people in the church do 80% of the work in the church. We are refusing to let that be us. We're not going to allow you to just sit back and be a consumer Christian and just take without saying, that ain't how Jesus wants you to act, man. Serve. Love your church. Let's all love everyone. Let's all serve everyone. Everybody needs everybody. And so we're going to refuse that just from the very beginning. Some of you in Muskogee, too. You need to come up to someone and say, hey, how can I serve? I realize there's a lot that happens. How can I serve? And there's some ways that we can get you plugged in. And we desperately need everybody serving, everyone volunteering in more than one way. That's the thing about this core group is that each of you are going to be serving in 2 or 3 ways because there's that much stuff that needs to happen. And we can't let 1 or 2 people do it every single week. For a while, Carter was the only person that ran words on Sundays. And most people maybe didn't realize it. Carter's back there every single week, like making sure during worship, during the sermon, it's all being changed. And just now, we've got like 3 guys. But we refuse for that to be something that we continue to do. We want everyone to be serving, and so that no one gets burnt out. Everyone can enjoy every aspect of the ministry too. So everybody needs everybody. So for you Shakota, Eufaula people, the next page, we need you to circle 3 things. You're already, every single one of you have already volunteered for Ecclesia Kids. You're welcome. We didn't even put that on the sheet because we need everyone. Some of you are like, I don't know if I can do that. You can. You can help. We need you too. We don't need 10, or we don't need like 6 people and they're having to do it every other week. We need everybody. So you're welcome. You're all automatically signed up for that. And then so just write your name on there and circle 3 out of the other 5 things. It would be set up and tear down team. We need 10 people for that team. It would be the welcome and greeting team. We need 4 people right now for that. Third would be the audio video team. We need 4. Worship team. Whoever sings and or plays an instrument or does interpretive dance. Okay, Anitra. A little demonstration? Please. Okay, good. Okay. Number 5, future community group leader. We know you don't know what you're doing, but we want to train you and we want to help you. If you look and say, I'd be willing to lead a community group if I knew how or felt more comfortable or felt like the pastors wanted to encourage me, let us know. We want to know now because we don't want to be reactionary with planning new community groups. We want to be missional. We don't want to say, our groups are getting too big. We need to plant more. We want to plant more before the groups are too big and so that we can keep reaching out. So, future community group leader, worship team, audio video team, welcome greeting team, set up, tear down team. And you're all volunteering for Ecclesia Kids. Thank you so much for your generosity and your love for the kids. All right, you guys ready? You can go. That's it. Just kidding. If any of you guys have any questions, we're not going to do it in an open forum like this. But I'm going to pray and then come and ask me or Nate or James any questions that you've got concerning this stuff. Cool? All right, let me pray. Father God, thank you for your grace. Thank you for what you're doing and you're going to do in the Shakota area. We ask you to help us stay weak and dependent on Jesus, confident in your love, that is rooted in your grace and not in our works, and empowered by your Holy Spirit. We ask this in your name, Jesus. Amen.